All right, Jake, for our visual audience, we only have 2 microphones, but we're so happy that you're here with us now. Jake Berger with us on Long Tossin, Steven Strom, Kyle Seeloff. I guess broad question here. Let's just start. How would you describe this season?
Yeah, for me personally, it's been a whirlwind a little bit. Just obviously starting off really hot in April, leading MLB and RBIs before I had the oblique. And, obviously never want to have an injury like that. And, it took 3 weeks of time away from me. And, for me, I feel like I can play through most small things, but this one didn't feel like that. And, you get off that and you're trying to compensate a little bit with your swing, and then also lost time and trying to do a little too much. And so obviously May didn't go the way I wanted to at all. Honestly, probably some of the worst baseball I've played in my career, just from an aspect. And obviously I always talked to Josh Bell about this when I was going through it, where it was one of those things that I look at it and it's like, there's probably 10 balls that could have fallen during that time. But that's a false positive in my opinion. And, feel like it was those few lucky knocks or whatnot were almost taken away from me, so I could learn, what was going on with my moves and, kind of grow a little more as a player. And ultimately got over that and felt better in June, felt really good in July, obviously, and felt really good in August. And I think after the All-Star break, I went on that tear where, felt like really dialed in, and then trade deadline happens, and it's part of the game, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suck. So, you lose some really good friends, and that's always the tough part. And then, coming into the next day, you have an offense that a lot of young guys, a lot of different
4 different teams.
Yeah. No, it's kind of what it felt like in a sense. And, it's just trying to find that identity again as an offense. And, for me, playing like I did after that, I'm really proud of that for myself. And, obviously having family and friends, constantly checking on me and making sure I'm okay. And, obviously September, I feel like I've hit balls really hard. Not a ton to show for it, but, obviously last night, really good night. Yep. And, it's only a matter of time, but this year's been more growth than anything. I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about how to grow up in a clubhouse and, be a leader and, kind of how to handle certain situations and stuff like that.
Yeah, you picked a good day to come on the podcast after a 3-hit night. I do want to go back to the trade deadline, though. Did you think you had a chance of getting traded?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always that thought in the back of your head. I went through it once before, and, it's eerily similar in a sense of a lot of vets getting traded around you and not really hearing anything about yourself. So that I'm sure that kind of caused a little, this is going to happen again. Sure. But, I think at the end of the day, the Marlins organization traded for me for a reason. And, I don't think it really affected me one way or the other. It's more, I'm going to go out there and play my brand of baseball and play as hard as I can. And, I'm fortunate that, the Marlins kept me and, now I get to help kind of grow this culture a little bit with all these young guys. So, I'm definitely thankful for that.
You mentioned culture. You mentioned leadership, Jake. I mean, Sandy's coming back. Jesus Luzardo is coming back, and things could obviously change. And you are not an old man, but you've quickly become one within that clubhouse. Do you embrace the leadership? It feels like you're in a position where if you got to be the one to do it because there's so many young kids in here now. Yeah,
it's definitely a learning curve for sure, But yeah, I mean, I remember having a conversation with Xavier Edwards and Kyle Stowers just about, we got our dogs coming back next year. I mean, we got bona fide aces up and down that rotation, and they're all going to be back and healthy, and it's on us to kind of create that offensive culture, and. I think it was right before September started where it's like, hey, like this month, like we can't let any bad, whatever it is out there, non-baseball-y type plays kind of spill over into next year. We got to build that identity now and, work on cultivating that through the offseason, whether it's FaceTiming everybody in the offense and just making sure everybody's okay, doing what they need to do and going about it the right way. So
I think you just alluded to it a little bit, but as a professional athlete, you never want to succumb to the fact that, boy, we're not going to the postseason. But it felt like a couple of months ago, it appeared as if the realization this season was this is going to be about growth and development, and it's going to be all gas, no brakes going into 2025. When did you, I don't know how to appropriately ask this, but start to turn the page and be like, you know what, we're not going to the postseason. I've got to take care of my own business, but now I have to lead an additional group of young men and look towards 2025.
Yeah, I mean, you always have that feeling in the back of your head of like, hey, like we still got a chance. Like we still got to go out there and compete. I think for me, probably around the trade deadline, just because we were losing so many pieces and a lot of unknown pieces coming in. And, I mean, you've seen, obviously, Kyle Stowers had a really good week in that Colorado, San Francisco. That's the type of player he is. Connor Norby doing what he's doing. So, for me, I don't think there's like an exact date. It's more I always kind of view the game as a growth and a development in a sense. And, at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and compete and not get in my own way. But there's no really specific date where you're just like, it's done. I still, I'm going to go out there and compete every single day. And, even now, how many games we got? 18 or something like that, whatever it is. We're playing the Dodgers and the Braves and like contenders, Minnesota. And so it's always fun to play spoiler in those situations. So that's kind of how we go about it.
I promise we'll get out of baseball at some point here. And I feel like on the negative, Nelly, I'm asking you getting traded. But I do want to go back to, like, how surprising was this year? We were so excited about last year and what could be 2024. I mean, just from a team perspective in the beginning, like, how surprised were you that the start that happened this year and how it's turned out?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, obviously, we're aware of all the injuries to our staff going into the season, but we feel like we have a really good lineup, and we can, if we can just play 500 until some of these guys get back, something like that. And obviously, it didn't start how we wanted it to, and that Pittsburgh series, opening weekend, like I felt like we could have won 3 out of 4. And
First game up 5-2, I remember. It was like a dagger.
Yeah, and we ended up getting swept that series, and it just kind of spiraled a little bit there. But I think we were all really confident in ourselves. And, at the end of the day, when you have 6-7 starting pitchers out, it's going to be a tough uphill battle. And I'm not saying we didn't have the pieces to do that. It just kind of how it shook out this year.
Are you comfortable being a leader? Do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different learning aspects of it, but at Missouri State, I felt like I was that type of leader, and that's college. It's not pro ball, and it's not the big leagues, and so there's definitely some areas that I need to improve in to be a better leader. But for me, I always feel comfortable with like, hey, we need to play this game the right way, and at the end of the day, that's what matters, and that's what winning baseball is. I had a chance to taste the postseason last year, and how guys functioned in that clubhouse, and it's just kind of cleaning up the small stuff to make us a winning ball club next year.
You know what's interesting, Jake, and I'm just a fan of the game, and I don't mean this to it's not BS, but as a fan, I look at this and it's like, boy, it feels like the organization made a lot of really good moves at the deadline to put you guys in a position where you could, and I genuinely mean this, compete starting next season. That's not always the case. It might be a 2 to 3 year vision, but Connor Norby, Kyle Stowers, Xavier Edwards, who knows what Javier Sanoja looks like. The pitching is coming back. Do you feel and can you sense right now, and there's an entire offseason to get through and who knows what happens, that this team is close? Because I've even said in recent days, you guys haven't been rewarded for fighting your tails off and losing by 2 runs and bringing the tying run to the plate every single night. Do you sense that this thing is close as a professional athlete in that clubhouse?
Yeah, 100%. And I think Sandy, Zeus, and I have had a conversation of like, we're not letting this year happen again. We're sick of losing, and we're not going to make this an organization that's used to losing. We feel like we've built a good foundation, and obviously this season feels like it's kind of going that way. But for us, we know we have our dudes coming back. We know we've made some really good trades, and it's about going out there and executing now. And I know going into the off season, I'm hyper focused on not letting this happen again. So that's bettering what I can do. Whether it's working on my defense, working on kind of getting the ball in the air more than I have. And so, yeah, I mean, I think all of us have our goals going into the offseason, and that also falls to the accountability aspect too, of like checking in on guys and making sure they're doing their stuff, and making sure they're preparing the right way, because I hate losing, and I don't want it to happen again.
Who came together for that conversation? Is it Zeus? Is it you? Is it Sandy? How did that come about?
Zeus is probably the most talkative out of the three of us. Sandy's that stoic leader that everybody knows it's his clubhouse, and when he speaks, everybody stops what they're doing and listens. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of been all of us just bouncing ideas off each other, and how do we build that camaraderie now? To kind of, obviously you don't know what the team's going to look like next year, but how do we build that camaraderie where everybody knows everybody and is comfortable with everybody, and it's just kind of trying to find small ways like that off the field to build that camaraderie.
What's the big thing if you go back to last season, when you're on a playoff team, and I think we've probably asked you this before, but I see it from my perspective, a bunch of really young, talented players here that will legitimately have a chance going into next year. What's the key thing that gets a team and a group of, it's easy to say 26 guys, but it requires 40 to 50 guys to really buy in? What is the buy-in? What does it take to really get you to that next level?
Yeah, I think it's putting others ahead of yourself. At the end of the day, it's obviously we want all the numbers that we can possibly get ourselves in a selfish way, but at the end of the day, when you're playing team baseball and you're caring about each other, and it doesn't matter if you're 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, you're on the top step cheering, making sure guys hear and feel your presence. That's when the numbers always look the best. I kind of used my example last year where, it's not, I want to win. When I was in Chicago, I want to win. And then it just kind of turned sour there. And, I hit 25 home runs. I was feeling good about that, but it's also hitting 210. And then I come over here where it's like, hey, these guys got each other's backs. And, I don't need to go out there and do too much. I know that, if I strike out Jazz or whoever's coming up, and they're going to pick me up. And ultimately that left me hitting 303 the last 2 months, and got my average all the way up to 250. And, so that's the type of winning baseball you need. You need to have guys that are going to hold each other accountable when you're not doing the right things, and also at the same time not so hyper-focused on themselves, and making sure that we're playing for each other, not just as an individual.
And I think that, like Kyle said, the front office, I thought, did a really good job of bringing in a good mix of young guys. And one of them, we've talked about him, Connor Norby. And we've heard these stories that he is a different sort of cat from a preparation standpoint. Everyone has already respected him. Why is that? Give me some examples or stories that you're like, holy buckets, this guy is locked in or different.
Yeah, I mean, he's baseball through and through. He's obviously we'll chit chat about fantasy football or something like that, but at the end of the day, it's like hyper focused on his preparation in the cage and preparation in the weight room, and he's going out there every single day, early work, whatever it is, he's doing it to make himself better. And he just has that look in his eye that he's going to go out there and compete, and he's not going to let anybody beat him. And those are the type of guys you need in a clubhouse to go out there and win. It's us against the world at the end of the day, and a 162 game schedule. So you got to have guys like that have that. I don't know. There's a special look in somebody's eye when they're a true competitor through and through.
We've talked so much about this season. This feels like a crazy question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there positives that can come out of this? What can you learn from this season, that whether it's some wisdom that you've learned that you can impart on these guys, but just in general, what have you learned, or what can be taken from a down year like this?
for me personally, that I can kind of teach is, I think Christian Yelich said it in a podcast. I don't know when he said it, but it takes a really long time to have a bad season and a really long time to have a good season as an individual. And I think my year is like directly related to that. It feels like when you're struggling as bad as I was in May, it feels like your whole world's crumbling. I think I was 5 for 60 or something like that, and felt like I wasn't driving the ball at all, and trying to tinker with things and trying to figure it out. And then I have that really good stretch, and now it's like feels like a little bit of a down year personally, but at the end of the day, it's right around a 750 OPS, which is above big league average, and it's taken a long time, and so I think that's the main thing that I can preach to these guys is like, it doesn't matter where you're at currently with numbers. It's if you're going out there and playing every day, who knows what's going to happen? What's it going to look like at the end of the year? And I think that's true for the team aspect too. I think it takes a really long time to have a bad season in terms of record and a really long time to have a good season. You see teams go through 10 game skids all the time, 7 game skids all the time, and they also go on heaters too. So just stay the course and make sure you're taking care of the little things, because the little things matter at the end of the year, and that's how you win baseball games. Whether it's getting a bunt down that causes a guy to get in scoring position, or moving a guy over to have a guy hit a sac fly. It's the little things like that end up winning the baseball the majority of the games. It's not that big 3-run home run. Obviously that's going to help occasionally, but the little things, that's what matters.
I got a lot to say that I'm going to ask you a question. 100%, because even yesterday, we're recording this on a Friday, by the way. Thursday, right? Yesterday, Connor Norby has 2 RBIs, no hits. Mm-hmm. He has a sac fly, and he just puts the ball in play, And I think those are the little things that you were alluding to, Kyle, that, look, we know the record is what it is, right? And we've got 15 games left. But there are a ton of positives. I think you've made strides defensively at first base. Would you agree with that, number one? I feel like you've made strides
100%.
at first
I feel
base.
way more comfortable.
The Xavier Edwards, could he play at this level? He's a legitimate leadoff guy. Now Connor Norby. And there are a ton of positives to take into next year, which brings me to my next question, because I've been thinking about this. The fan base, of course, wants to latch on to guys. Do you feel like these sort of dudes in this clubhouse, and they've got a little edge to them, they've got a little people have doubted me, do you think that these guys can really profile as, the city of Miami, these guys can gravitate, these fans can gravitate towards this group?
Yeah, I 100% believe that. I think you have a lot of different personalities too, which is like cool, and I think that's what you need in a clubhouse. You can't have the same stock type of personality throughout the clubhouse, and I think all of us kind of bring something different to the table in terms of that. And I think like at the end of the day, we all care about the fans. You see Connor Norby, even though he's in his game ready, focused look, he's going over to sign for kids before the game, and Xavier Edwards and all these guys, man, it's definitely a different group of personalities, but it works really well. And I'm already starting to feel that camaraderie. Guys chirping each other about the littlest things, but
that's good things.
Yeah, it's good. That's what you need. You need that type of camaraderie of you feel like you're best friends from high school or middle school. That's what it feels like in there right now.
I doubt you've got the whole thing laid out. My last question for you, Jake, and again, we always appreciate chatting with you, man, because it's been really exciting to watch you now for, I guess a year and a half, I guess. But what is and this is a long season. It's funny because you always hear people talk about how long the season is, and there's always these questions about should they shorten it. For you guys, man, it doesn't seem like you ever take a break. Maybe a day around Christmas, but what does the off season now look like for you? Is it a Disney trip 2 weeks after the year, and then you're back at it midway through October? But what's this whole thing look like for you when the season ends?
This year's a little different. Obviously, we're expecting our second, so there's a lot of focus on that and trying to get as many date nights in as my wife and I can before our second one comes. But no, for me, it's I'm serious when I say I don't want this to happen again. And so that focus is 4 months. It's not, hey, swinging might take a little bit to get back into, probably after Thanksgiving, but from a body standpoint and a working out standpoint and a defensive standpoint, like that's like almost right when I get home. It'll probably take a day or two, but my wife knows this too, and obviously I'll be building a lot of baby type stuff, but but she knows that like I can't sit still because I always want to try and improve myself no matter what. And so if that's during Brooks's nap or something, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to be the best version of myself coming in next year.
I got one more too for you. I don't want to call you a pioneer, but you are one of the individuals that really spoke up about mental health, and I find that incredibly interesting. I just wanted you to share with the audience. Do you journal? How has your mental health evolved? I'm very interested on that side, specifically for baseball players that are in it every day.
Yeah, a lot of I do actually journal a lot. I feel like it's good to get my thoughts on paper and kind of take a step back and get them out of my head. But a lot of meditation, a lot of breathing, and a lot of just slowing stuff down around me. So whether that's reading a book or meditating, it kind of gets me outside of that anxiety driven stuff. And especially in baseball, I mean, it's like it's hard not to overthink every little thing you do. Whether you boot a ball or swing at a pitch way outside the zone with guys in scoring position that you feel like it's probably your only chance in the game. And so it's hard not to overthink stuff. So for me, it's just, all right, like on to the next one and keep moving forward, and how can I slow the game down? And so a lot of it's breath work, whether it's like box breathing work or journaling, kind of writing down what I was feeling throughout the day. That's been huge.
Jake, thank you so much on the behalf of Kyle. We appreciate you carving out time, and let's finish out the season strong. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.